What is up? What is up, my people, my people? I appreciate you all for tapping in. We have another video, another fight review video. We're going to be looking at this past weekend's action, the Last Cresendo. It was a crazy, crazy, crazy card. Going to dive into all the action soon. But the fight week, let's just talk about the fight week first. Everything was going fine, y'all. Everything was going fine. And then next thing we know, Floyd Schofield gets hurt. And if you're like me, there was a lot of us that was questioning, like, okay, this isn't right. I know I wasn't the only one. I know I wasn't. A lot of people were saying this wasn't right. A lot of y'all were hitting me up saying this wasn't right. So I know a lot of y'all wanted thinking the same thing I was. All right. So we definitely wish Floyd the best. So he gets removed from the fight for the British Board of Control. Insert Josh Padley. Now, shout out to Josh Padley, man, to fight Shakur Stevenson on such a short notice. All the respect in the world to him. So we take out Floyd Schofield. We insert Josh Padley. Boom, there's your WBC lightweight championship match now. As we get closer, Daniel Dubois gets sick. Oh, good. Oh. So now, Daniel Dubois gets removed. Now they have to fly in Martin Bakole from the Congo. My man barely, he couldn't have gotten much sleep. Clearly out of shape, but insert Martin Bakole, to save the card. First of all the credit in the world. I think Martin Bakole won all the respect of the boxing fans for doing what he did, and we'll get into his fight later on. But let's kick this thing off, y'all. We started the night off. I mean, Callum Smith versus Joshua Buatsi. We came right out the gate, guns blazing. This fight was a banger. I mean, you can look at both guys' faces right after and see this was an all action fight. Callum Smith did end up getting the unanimous decision win over Joshua Buatsi. But it was a real good fight, very action packed. It was what you expected, right? I mean, if this was a fight that was going to happen in the UK, you can make an argument that this would be a headline fight on the UK card, right? So, and we started the night off with that, and when that fight was over, some people were saying fight of the year candidate, and let me know in the comment section. I mean, if you say that about that fight, you will not hear an argument from me. You will not get an argument from me at all. At all. Because it was one of those fights, and I'm with you on that. And then, so right after that, we had Agaye Cabello. If I didn't pronounce that right, I apologize. Cabello against Big Bang Zhang. Cabello did end up getting the stoppage win over Big Bang Zhang. And this fight was, I mean, it's what we say, right? When you see a taller guy and a shorter guy, you say, okay, the shorter guy has to do something to get inside to kind of cut the distance off, so that way he's not standing on the outside and let the taller fighter just pick him apart. This was a prime example. Of it. That first round was just, of course, the feel out process to, see what each fighter has. I think we're used to kind of seeing that in the first round or two, right? And then after that, you can see, Cabello his game plan made it a point to close the distance. There was some times that Zhang, was able to be effective and actually included a knockout, knockdown, in the equation. But it was just the pressure. It was just the pressure of Cabello, the constant just coming forward. And eventually he broke down Big Bang Zhang. Big Bang Zhang, he's in his 40s, and Cabello had the perfect game plan. So shout out to him, his team, for coming up with the game plan and for executing the game plan. And he puts himself in a good spot now, y'all. We talking about WBC, interim title. So, he's looking at a situation where Usyk, you know, um, Usyk has said he want to fight Daniel Dubois. He's also said that he might possibly move down. So, Caballo's in a situation where he can see what happens with those belts. If Usyk decides that he wants to step down, then that WBC, is it a situation where he might be able to fight for it. So we'll see what happens with those belts. But Caballero has put himself in a good position. So we'll see what happens. Not only with him, but Big Bang Zhang. I don't know. He's in his 40s. He can still compete, but when it's at the level that he wants to compete at, given his age, he might start, wondering if he wants to continue fighting because, like I said, in his 40s, and I think he wants to be at the top. He wants to be a world champion, and I think that if he's not at that level or competing at that level, then he may look at his career and see what's going on with that. So we'll see. We'll see. Next up, we had Virgil Ortiz Jr. against Israel Madrimov. I predicted that this fight was going to be fight of the year. It didn't quite turn out that way. My bad, y'all. It was not. It didn't turn out. Y'all, that fight didn't play out the way I wanted it to. Because I saw the way Madrimov fought Terrence Crawford, and I thought it was going to be, some of the same, and maybe it was. But Madrimov did a lot of moving in a majority of the fight, and the last couple rounds, the way that fight was action, I thought that was going to be that way the whole card. So I don't know if it was Virgil Ortiz that did something that kind of threw Madrimov off his game, or if Madrimov said, okay, we're going to try to move, a little bit and then try to pick our shots. And then he just never really got that game plan going. So who knows? But Virgil Ortiz did end up, getting the unanimous decision win. And we'll see what's next because he's in a good spot too. He's looking Sebastian Fundora in the face for a title shot now in between him and Xander Zayas. They're both looking at Sebastian Fundora, so we're going to see, Fundora has a title defense against Cordell Booker coming up later this year. So once that smoke clears, if he's successful, we're going to see what happens with that 154-pound title situation because we got two guys with two different sanctioning bodies that are clamoring for a title shot with Sebastian Fundora, and that's Virgil Ortiz and Xander Zayas. So we'll see what goes on with that, and we'll see what goes on with Madrimov. I would still like to see that fight with Boachuk. I would still like to see him running with Boachuk. That fight is always in the back pocket. So that fight, I think, you can make that fight happen, and I think that would be a fight that hardcore boxing fans would look at and say, okay, we might have some with Boachuk and Madrimov. So we'll see what happens with both of those guys. And then as the night went on, we go to the WBC world title fight. Carlos Adames against Hamza Shiraz. This was a good fight. I don't agree with the decision. I had Adames winning a close one, but shout out to Hamza Shiraz. It was his first world title fight. And he fought well. He just didn't do enough. I think they said that he broke his hand, but if you listen to him talk, he said there's no excuse. And, I agree with him. There's no excuse, but let's be real, y'all. Broken hand, like, that affects your game plan. Like, when you talk to the media, you're not going to say a broken hand is the reason why I lost, because the reality is fans ain't trying to hear that. But also the reality is if you break your hand and you fight somebody, bro, there's going to be some slight changes, in your game that you're going to have to make, whether it's throw it less or what have you. It's just how it is. So, but that's not taking anything away from Carlos Adames, because if you follow the channel enough, I've been saying Carlos Adames is him in that division, dog. I like Carlos Adames, man. That 160-pound division, Carlos Adames. He ever since he took that L a couple of years ago. Don't quote me on who he lost to. My apologies. But my man has been on a mission, and we'll see what's going on with Adames next. They might, who knows, they might run it back, or I've seen Janabek do a lot of talking back and forth with Adames. So let me know how y'all feel about a Janabek versus Adames unification. I like that. Because like I said, they've been doing a lot of talking, and at some point they gotta run it, right? Gotta run it. And then we pivot. We get deeper into the night now. Now we see Shakur Stevenson against the late replacement Josh Padley. Once again, shout out to Josh Padley for stepping in and giving Shakur good work. And it went kind of how you expected. I mean, Shakur Stevenson doing what Shakur Stevenson does. And doing what Shakur Stevenson was supposed to do, right? Late replacement, world-class fighter, world champion, one of the best. He's supposed to do that. Now, there have been interviews where they've asked Shakur Stevenson one of his favorite fights or his favorite fights, and he says it's Floyd Mayweather versus Arturo Gatti. And if you watch Shakur Stevenson fight, it's like he wants to make his fights like that performance. It's like he wants to put on a Mayweather performance like Mayweather did against Arturo Gatti. You can kind of tell, and I'm not gonna say his performance against Josh Padley was Mayweather, versus Gotti-esque, but it's just something about the way he fought and the way that he connected flush on those punches, and the way that he was just so accurate, and the way that he continues to be accurate, with his punches and the body shots. The body shots, was the was the story, in this fight. And if you listen to Josh Padley's interviews, he'll tell you, it was the body shots. They weren't necessarily hard. They'll just suck the wind out of you. And anybody that's been hit to the body, they'll tell you, I've been hit to the body. I didn't, I don't have any pro experience or amateur experience, but I have a little training experience, and I got hit to the body, and I'll tell you, it's one of the worst feelings, one of the worst feelings that you can experience. And not conditioning, fighters, they condition their body for a certain amount of time to be able to take those. So him being a boxer and not conditioning his body for that normal period of time, that shows you what happens with perfectly placed body shots. And when you talk about accuracy, there aren't many better than Shakur Stevenson. So Shakur Stevenson just continuing to do what he does, man. And I think he's pushing a little harder towards that Tank fight now, because Eddie Hearn has said it before the Shakur fight, said that's what they're going to be focusing on. And Shakur has said it in a couple interviews after the fight. Now he's saying that's the fight that he wants. He wants Gervonta Tank Davis. So we're going to see what happens with Tank. Tank fights Lamont Roach on March 1st on Saturday. So we'll see what happens with that situation. And I want to see it. I think a lot of boxing fans want to see it. Shakur and Tank, two of the best versus the best, what the fans want. I think it's a fight that they have to make happen. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll keep an eye on Tank, and we'll keep an eye, of course, y'all. Keep an eye on the channel, because we're going to let y'all know what happens with Tank, any kind of call-outs. Anything that happens, we're going to have it on the page, and we're going to talk about it, and we're going to see what that push us toward. So I will keep y'all updated on that situation. And then we move to the co-main event. It was Daniel Dubois and Joseph Parker, which was going to be a banger. I was waiting for that one, y'all, but We didn't quite end up getting that. We hope Daniel Dubois gets well soon. We ended up getting Mark Bacoli on short notice. Shout out to Bacoli though, man. The shot, to fly. I think they said the travel time was like 6 hours. In that shorter time, didn't even use his gloves. Had to use Daniel Dubois' gloves. Over 300 pounds. He got in there and he gave it all. He gave it all he had. I mean, he did what he could, and Joseph Parker just caught him in the right spot, and that's what happens. Them legs just went all over the place, and it just put Bacoli on his tail, and Bacoli just wasn't right after he took that shot. And going back to Shakur Stevenson, talking about these late replacements, even though Bacoli was a far more dangerous replacement as far as like caliber athletes than Josh Padley, was. If you are a champion or inspiring champion or fighting to be a champion fighter at a high level, when you have someone that steps in such a short amount of time like that, you have to make a statement. You have to. And Joseph Parker did that. He got the second round stoppage over Martin Bacoli and puts himself in a good spot now. Like we were saying with Age Cabello. Joseph Parker is always in it. He is in a good spot now. So, those belts, that heavyweight division, when Dubois and Usyk and Cabello, so we'll see how all this plays out now. And Joseph Parker now, so it's like a puzzle it's going to play itself out. It's going to figure itself out, and we'll be here to keep everybody updated on how everything plays itself out. So we will see. Martin Bacoli is scheduled to be back in May. He's still going to fight at Jogba. So to keep it 100 with y'all, Bacoli was playing with house money. Really, because that opportunity with the Jogba is still there, and it doesn't have me thinking any less of Bacoli. My man stepped in literally a couple hours to fight one of the best heavyweights in the world. This should not change our opinion on Bacoli at all. He's still dangerous. You give him a full training camp, he can give anybody problems. So we'll see what happens with Bacoli in May. And Joseph Parker with this whole, heavyweight title situation. And then we had the main event. The whole card, dog. The whole card was crazy up until then. And then now we have Dmitry Bivol, against Artur Beterbiev. And it was another good, close, entertaining back and forth fight between two good fighters. They ran it back, and it was exactly what we got. It was extension of the first fight, right? 13, round 13 on. But this time, Bivol got the get back, right? He got the belts, so he's undisputed light heavyweight championship. So now they're talking about, of course, maybe running it a third time, and it's only right? Beterbiev won, Bivol won. So what? They gotta have a tiebreaker, right? So we'll see. My man David Benavidez can't get a break, dog. Whether it's with Canelo waiting for a title, waiting for a shot at Canelo, or waiting to maybe get a shot at Artur Beterbiev if he was successful beating Dmitry Bivol again. But that's not how that worked out. So, but the fans win, right? I'm down for seeing that a third time. And don't sit here and lie to me and say y'all ain't trying to see that a third time. Because y'all know y'all want to see that a third time, just like I do. So, Turkey was saying that, he's interested in making the third fight. Depends on if the fighters want it. Beterbiev was saying in the ring, I guess, third fight. And I think Bivol seems like a G. He seems like he's down for whatever. So don't be surprised if you start hearing the rumblings of a third fight between the two. But Bivol's also said, hey, move up, cruiserweight. So we'll see. Who knows how this is gonna go? I don't know. We'll find out. Everything's gonna play itself out. But until next time, peace. I'll keep y'all updated. Oh, We're going to end the video in a little bit. But make sure y'all subscribe. Make sure y'all like. Make sure y'all comment. Because this is how your boy pays the bills. We finna take this show on the road. We got big things coming. Big things. So now, I'm gone. Peace.